great to hear from you. But we're going to get started probably in around 5 minutes. We're just going to give a chance for the breakout sessions to wrap up. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone.
Do you need a minute? That was a very intense, big conversation you guys have just had over in the other room.
It was wonderful. No, I'm really excited to be here. And the last thing that I would want is to make you guys wait. So I'm more than happy to start whenever you are ready.
Sure. I mean, if you need to get a glass of water or anything, we're going to give it a couple of minutes anyway. Perfect. To allow people to transition from the first wave of breakout sessions over to here. I'll keep people warm in the meantime if you do want a quick refreshment. But thank you for doing it. Darren's here. Hi, Darren. Yes, Darren, Ina is putting in a shift. You are. We are very grateful to HP Live. Hi, Kathleen. How are we doing?
It was an amazing discussion. It was really energizing, as you said. I was just enthralled with the scope. So is here in this session as well, Dan, for the breadth of that discussion, your questions there as well. It was really exciting. So
I get to be the... Yeah, I was just going to say, Kathleen, if you need to grab a quick glass of water, we understand. You've all come from another session. I get to be the voice of the audience, I guess, at the moment, because I got to go around all the breakout sessions. I got to dip into 5 minutes of conversation and really absorb snapshots of conversation. But it was your Demystifying Digital Skills conversation that really, really stood out to me. You know, the inputs from Cameron on his birthday and from DeConte in Liberia. And then when you mix together that kind of, I guess, corporate programming alongside community programming, and it's that happy medium that we're trying to find, I guess, to bring those two things together. So if you're just joining us, we're going to give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Ina's going to talk to us a little bit about the HP Life program. Let us know where you're joining us from in the world in the chat. Please do. That's how we know you're here. I mean, we can see that 18 people are currently with us, but let us know where it is you're joining us from today, what time it is where you are. Thank you if you're staying up late, if you're in Asia Pacific and you are joining us in the small hours in the morning. That's some serious commitment. Thank you. And to our friends in the Americas, good afternoon, just good morning to some of you if you're maybe in San Francisco over on that coast. So thank you. Good afternoon from Canada. Thanks, Jessica. We'll get started in just a moment. That chat box is the way that we know that you're here, that you're listening, you're taking notes. And I think, Kathleen, now you're back with us. I'm going to jump off and I'm going to hand it over to you. All right? Thank you very much. And thank you, Ina, as well.
All warmed up here. So, Ina, you know, in the back, doing a setting of your presentation. So, over to you.
Perfect.
Would you like me to get that up right now?
Either, are you running the presentation or do you want me to share? Either way works for me.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and try that, because I think it will be more efficient. If you have any troubles, just let me know.
Perfect.
Thanks. I'm going to pop out then. Leave it to you.
If one of you can just confirm that you guys can see my screen, that would be amazing. Great. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone again for finding the time to join this session. My name is Ina Progonati. I am the global lead for HP Life, which is a program of the HP Foundation. Today, I'm going to walk you through what HP Life is, how can this be useful to you. I want this to be a session, that more than welcome for your input. So looking forward to your questions and so on. Please feel free to stop me if I'm speaking too fast or anything like that. So as I mentioned, HP Life is a program of the HP Foundation. I will start a little bit with overall what we at HP want to do. Are doing. Part of our sustainable impact, we have 3 pillars, one of that being planet, people, and communities. HP Life sits under communities, and as we at HP think that education is a fundamental human right. It's very important for us to be able to give equal and equitable access to different opportunities, as well as outcome-based learning experience, as well as skills for work and society of the future. And this ties very well with the session that we just had. At HP, we made a commitment in 2000 to enable better learning outcomes for 100 million people by 2025. And one of the ways that we do that is through the great work that the foundation of HP does. HP Foundation has a different set of things that they do, one of them being HP Life program, which I will go into more details, disaster relief and resilience, as well as employee volunteering. Part of this overall enabling better learning outcomes for 125 is in getting 1 million people on the HP Life platform, which allows people to basically use the platform, learn the content, and so on. HP Life is a completely free entrepreneurial program. So it's a learning that has 32 different courses in 8 different languages that world. You are at HP Life online through the URL that you can see here, liveglobal.org, as well as off-platform partnership, which I'll go into more details in a as in person through what we're calling HP Life Centers, which is a physical space where people in different countries where we have created an HP Life Center have the option to go use the technology and then take HP Life courses. For each of the HP Life courses, you are accredited a certificate of completion, where you can take that, and we know that our users put that on their social media channels, as well as, you know, take it to interviews and so on. We also have a set of tools called the trainers tools, and what that is basically an 86-page document that teaches you how to use the platform and then how to go through the courses. These are some purely basic statistics that I think it's important for me to kind of give to you guys. There is around 1 million users, people that have taken HP Life courses since the beginning when it started in 2012. And of the people that have taken HP Life courses accredit HP Life courses to part of their success. What I think fascinating about the product itself, in April, we had around 20,000 new users, and there was a completion rate of 62%. That is really, really high completion rate. And the end of the day, HP Foundation created HP Life for them to be able to get access to young people out there. These 74 million unemployed people, it's before Corona. So I'm assuming that number has very much increased since then with everything that has happened in the world. As I mentioned, there are 3 different ways for you to be able to access HP Live. The first one is online. You literally just need to get on the URL and then sign up and create an account and start using HP Live as you please. If it's off platform, through a partnership with Learning Equality, which is a nonprofit based out of New York City. And what they have done is they have taken our content and added to their own platform, which allows people that don't necessarily internet all the time, because as you know, not everyone has Wi-Fi everywhere. So the way that Kolibri works is they take the content, add it on their platform, and as long as you have a device and you have internet for a moment, you can download the content, and then you're able to take that class at your own pace at home or whatever. The third way is basically a physical center, what we're calling an HP Life Center, and that we currently have 6 of them around Mexico and planning to expand this in other countries. I'm going to go into what HP Life is, what is the point of this, and how can it actually be useful to you that are joining this session. It's a completely online platform, and it takes about 1 minute for you to literally sign up, and you email, you create a password, and then you're right away able to basically use the HP Live platform. All our courses are divided in 5 different sections. You have communication, startup, innovate, finance, marketing, and operations. And all the courses are, every single of this, 5 different sections have different courses. All of our courses are, as I like to call them, snack bite size. So it should take you around 30 minutes to 1 hour for you to be able to take an HP Live course. And all courses are created for you to take them on your own pace, on your own time. But a lot of the partnerships that we actually run at HP Live, and I'll get into more details with that, is through a program, an instructor, a professor that walks you through, helps you through, go through the courses. And as you can see, there is quite a variety of different courses that we have. We have classes in 3D printing, we have classes in success mindset, as well as some of classes that you don't necessarily need to be an entrepreneur in order for you to use HP Live courses. It's teaching you the basics of, things like presenting data or writing a business email or energy efficiency. How do you do that better for your business or your home, and so on. Every single one of our classes is created in the same way. You have 4 different sections. You have the storyline. That's where you learn what the issue is. So starting a small business, for example, is one of our courses. You have Nawal that she wants to figure out how to start a small business in her. The second concept, that's where you learn the specific skills, the terminology, and so on. And in technology skills, you take that knowledge and then you eventually put it in practice, and you do different exercises. It's very important for us at HP Live to learn what you guys think about our content. Is it useful? So for every single one of the courses, you will have to go through a survey that asks you basic, are you a student or not, employed or not, did you like this or that? And then the thing is resources. That's where we would give you, so let's say you're taking a basic of finance course, it would have the spreadsheets that you need to use for you to learn how to do basic balancing of your business. This is just a sample story of how the product looks, basically the platform. For every one of our HP Live courses, you're accredited a certificate of completion. And as a good employee, I basically took a couple of them myself, but they're also really great. And I've learned a lot by myself. Another thing that is important for HP Live is all of our content is mobile friendly and mobile responsive. What that means is that you don't necessarily need to have a computer or an iPad for you to be able to access the content. You can easily download, go on your browser, go on hplive.org and take the content on your phone. We just launched our first completely mobile friendly course, which is called Effective Business Website, that was specifically designed for your phone, so you can take that without ever needing to touch a computer. And for us at HP to get the content to as many people out there, so we want to make sure that it's accessible. HP Live is also accessible for people with disabilities, and it needs to be use the voice or a screen grab that is just them to access the content. The beauty of HP Live, in the end of the day, what we at the foundation do is we created a platform. We also create the content. All the content is created with subject matter experts. So there are HP employees or professors at different universities that help us design classes and make sure that the content for us, that we made a commitment that we want to reach 1 million people by 2025. So we rely very much on our partners. These are some of our major partners, and I'm going to walk you through some of the partnerships that we run. The first one is a program called MASHRDUSI. It's a partnership between HP, USAID, UNIDO, and the Italian government. And the way that this program, USAID is running full-on training sessions in person, and during Corona, obviously, they were all offline. But the idea is, before you have access to go to an in-person training where you learn, how to do better networking and so on, you have the opportunity to take a series of HP Live courses. And part of this overall partnership is a goal to reach around 25,000 new young people in Tunisia and create 66,000 new jobs. And this was such a great program that we extended. Another program that we run is with Junior Achievement Romania, and now practically Junior Achievement globally. This model has been replicated in 10 different junior achievements, and we're thinking to do more and more. And this comes back to, at the end of the day, we know we have good content. All we care is for the content to get to the right hands for the students. So this partnership is along the lines of, we partner with Junior Achievement globally. They take our classes, HP Life courses, and they add them to their own learning management system. And then students around the world are able to get the content. KOLIBRI, I mentioned that briefly, is basically a partner of ours that helps us get the content to people that don't have access to internet all the time. As we know, digital equity, it's not enough, and this is very much part of, you know, what HP is working hard to accelerate. It's not enough for you to have access to hardware. It's not enough for you to have access to connectivity. You need great quality content, which HP Life is one. But, you know, as we heard in the last session, if one of you was present, a lot of partners out there are doing the same thing. They have great content. It's important also to have the right people that are literacy skills. So for you to be able to know how to use a computer, so then eventually you can get to a platform, that being HP Life or any of the platforms that some of the colleagues mentioned in the last session. The other way, we understand that, you know, not everyone has access to a hardware or access to internet and so on. So we came up with this idea called an HP Life Center, which is basically a tech-enabled learning hub that we partner with a nonprofit such as UN Women in Mexico and so on, to build a space where young people can, or anyone that wants to learn digital skills, take HP Life courses and other things. The first HP Life centers were in Mexico. This was a 3-year partnership between UN Women, Second Chance Education. And the idea behind this is giving women that had to drop out of school at an early age, the opportunity for them to go back to learn how to use a computer and eventually take HP Life courses. Right before the pandemic, we had the first woman that actually went through the program and got a job as a secretary in an office. Obviously, HP Life centers with Corona, we had to kind of refigure out how to continue growing this concept, because we need to make the right decision when it comes to social distancing and so on. To prove all of these examples is to prove the point that we at HP, and especially at HP Life, it's very important for us to find those right partners. And it's a great honor for me to be able to do this presentation to all of you at YMCA. So thank you again for this opportunity. This is the last thing that I really wanted to dive in, and this is an opportunity for a lot of the young people that hopefully are part of this session, is a career development program, ChangeMaker, with word skills. Every single year we run this program where we ask social young entrepreneurs around the world of the age of 18 to 35 to this competition works is, you could be one of these people. It's like, do you have an idea of a social enterprise? It can be for-profit or non-profit, that is basically solving for any of the 17 sustainable development goals. So it can be water, sanitation, gender equality, or so. If that is the case, you have just an idea and you want to see how can you make a business out of it, we created a program that is called BECHANGEMAKER. And it's basically a during these 3 months out of, last teams, we choose 30 teams for them to go through the program, where they take HP Life courses. They are paired with at least 2 HP employees for their mentors, as well as with a coach that helps them learn how to do prototyping or learn how to build a website and so on. So is in the beginning, every single year we choose 30 teams from around the world, and through the process single 2 weeks they have to learn to grow. They need to, every week they take a class on entrepreneurship or finance and so on. And during the process, they have 3 online pitches where we go from 30 teams to 5 teams. Before Corona, the live pitch was actually a physical event, and you were able to fly to wherever Word Skills was created, had their overall assembly. Now it's all until the world goes back to some normality. Last year, so this is the top 5 from BeChangeMaker Global. Yeah, last year's team is a team called Easy Diabetes with representatives from France, India, and the US. What they did is they created a platform specifically for Indian population for them to get information on how to deal this in a way that makes sense to them. So the platform and the app would give you ideas of exercise, would give you ideas of how do you eat things that are better for your diet when you have diabetes. We the last thing that I really want to push for you guys, and I want to open the floor for questions and so on, please do sign up on HP Live, get the word out there, classes, know in your circles that this is a completely free product that anyone can use. And at the same time, the deadline for BeChangeMaker is on June 11. I would love for any of you to use BeChangeMaker as an opportunity to apply and join this program. And I will stop here and then open the floor for any. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been wonderful to be able to talk to you guys about HP Live.
Thank you so much, Ina. So I'm coming back in here. We have got, thank you for that. That's, it's impressive. I have seen your presentation before in, just the PowerPoint presentation, but when you get it, it really comes to life. There are several things that stand out, and a few questions that I had, including, how courses are developed. It's really impressive that you work with so many different institutions, both HP, HP professionals as well as professors, the subject area professors, to develop these courses and make it possible. And aspect that I find really impressive about the presentation is you develop, you're working through different partners to get them out there. I think this will be, some questions. I hope the YMCA world, I think, represented in this session, who will have some questions about this. So let's see. Yes, I think the recordings will afterwards. I'm just looking here at the questions that they come in. But go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I would love to get an understanding of how many people that out of this 25 wonderful audience had already heard of HP Live, and if you could put in the chat, have you heard of HP Live? Now that you have heard about it, is this something that you're interested in exploring? It just will help me get a better understanding. For in the end of the day, we create the content to make sure that it gets to the right hands. So just a quick little yes or no on have you heard of HP Live before this session? It'd be amazing.
We have one, Ken.
It's wonderful.
So
and the beauty of
people are
HP
interested. Doesn't say that. It doesn't seem like people are aware or have been aware thus far. But the comments throughout are that people said.
And another thing that I think is super interesting that I probably should have mentioned is this idea that think about HP Live as something that you guys can completely do on your own, but it's also something that can be added to your curriculum. It can be added as, you can take this as course credit, or you can do this as homework, or you can just do this completely. Let's say you want to sell your sneakers on Instagram and you want to be able to do that. We have a social media marketing class that teaches you exactly how to do that. So there is quite a diverse different kinds of courses that you can learn bits and pieces, and you can go as in depth as you want. There are the way that I explain it is there is courses that are completely And there are other ones that will give you much more experience in something, such as, for example, Growth Engine for Your Business is a class that teaches you, you have a business already, you know, how do you go from just having one coffee shop to thinking about including catering in your business?
Fantastic. You know, we do have one question here that came in from Aleha Newman. Actually, she has two questions. The question is, can you provide in the chat to HP and be a change maker? So if you get a second to do it, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And the second is, with Be Change Maker, enter as a team if you have members who are under 18.
Yes, as long as the majority of the team is over 18. We make exceptions for some if most of the team is over. Ideally, we want people 18 and 35, but we can make exceptions.
Thank you. And here's another question from Esperanza Mansade, who asks, who says, knowing the gender disparities prevalent in the world of employment and entrepreneurship, does HP Life have a gender-specific goal that advances gender equity?
Great question. I love that. So one of the HPs, I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. Actually, HP is making a commitment tomorrow that we want to accelerate digital equity for 150 million people by 2025. And we're very much, one of the target groups that we want to work with is women and girls. As we know, a lot of women don't have the same access to education, and a lot they don't have the same opportunities. So HP Life has a goal to accelerate digital equity through content like HP Life and more. So it's very important for us to reach those women and girls. I come from a developing country myself. I say this all the time, and the journey for a woman is just it's a different ball game. That does not mean that, you know, women and girls have men are as important in this entire, you know, world as well. But for us at HP Life, creating that content and getting those partnerships that we can access women and girls is very important.
Excellent. So let me take another look. We have another question. What about the English level? I'm not a native. So
the beauty of HP Life is available in 8 different languages, as I mentioned. So it's available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Hindi, Bahasa, and Mandarin Chinese. So all the courses are available in all those 8 languages. So if you speak any of those languages as your mother, Life is available in all those languages, and we're growing more and more the different languages that we have on HP Life.
Okay, and this is a perfect time for this, which is, do you have HP Life in Japanese?
We don't have HP Life Japanese yet. We only have the 8 questions that I mentioned as of now, but we're always trying to grow it to more and more languages. And another thing that might be worth to mention, with our partnership with Junior Achievement globally, a lot of what they have done, they have taken HP Life content and they have translated it in other languages. So HP Life is available in Romanian, Bulgarian, Hungarian, Italian, Russian, Turkish, Dutch as of now, but the way of getting content to these languages, you have. So basically being a student of the Junior Achievement as a, you know, locally, and then you'll be able to get access to all this content in other languages.
Fantastic. There's a question, do you think HP Life will ever offer coding courses for free platforms?
No, we at HP, we started as a small business, or we have found that small, wonderful niche where it comes to getting content for young entrepreneurs. There's amazing partners out there that already do the coding. So we do not want to go in an avenue where there already is so much. You have Google is doing a lot of that, Microsoft is doing a lot of that. So we trust that our partners are doing that in a very good way. That is no point for us to enter that world. We want to stay in that, snack, bite size, 35 minutes to 1 hour. You get your basics in the different topics when it comes to being entrepreneur. And it's not even just about entrepreneurship. Like, as I said, we have courses like design thinking that helps you understand how to critically think, which is in the end of the day, one of the biggest things that you can teach to yourself for you to be employable.
Excellent. Do you have feedback, or talk a little bit about feedback from employers, perhaps for young people who go through courses? We're talking here these 3 days about the pathway from school to work, or and also supporting young people to design their employment pathways. Yeah, maybe a few conversations that you're having with employers, people who've gone through your program.
Sure. So what we have found is a lot of our users, and most of our feedback is actually through users than employers, is a lot of our users will go through our class and that certificate of completion. I know, as a matter of fact, that they will take them, print them, and take them to interviews. And companies out there go through the list of courses that they have taken and understand that this student or a young entrepreneur, whatever, someone that is applying for a job, has an ability to understand ABCD as a result. So we have seen that a lot of the people that take HP Life courses have found them useful to learn those topics, as well as we, for example, with a partnership with MASHRDUI in Tunisia, we know that there have been 3,000 young entrepreneurs that actually started a business after they took HP Life courses and eventually went through that USAID is delivering in the country.
Fantastic. I think your partnership with AID is a very interesting one. And certainly also the partnerships that you have with other organizations. How do you go about finding or looking for partners?
It's a matter of, as we mentioned in the last session, we all have the same intention. It's just finding those people and those corporations or nonprofits out there that in the end of the day are in need for content. So what we do at HP Life is we created a platform. We keep it updated. We continue creating content that is relevant for the young generation. So then we're looking for those partners that want to take this content and bring it to these young people, young entrepreneurs, and use it and learn from it. So it's a matter the way that I go about it is like, the more people use it, the better it is. This is what the point of this.
Excellent. We have another question here. Can you only take one course, or you turn back to HP for another course?
You can take all 32 courses. They are completely free and they will always be free. So you can take one or you can take all 32. It will never their learning management system there that allow you to take one course and then you have to pay for the rest of it. That's not the case with HP Life. Completely free, completely accessible, 24 hours globally, and it will always be.
Amazing. Now, another question for you. The YMCAs around the world, many of them have centers, they are teaching diverse digital skills. If would like to become a provider of HP Life, what would they need to do to do that?
It depends on the program that they are running, but it's completely easy. All they need to do is start thinking, okay, which one of these 32 courses would make sense for us to teach our students? Or that's one way. So all they need to do is basically sign up their students and start taking the courses. That's the technology part of it. There's other ways of doing it. We can work with them to create pathways for students. So let's say you have students that are interested in marketing and they are doing ABCD with you, they can start taking HP Life courses as their intro to marketing before they go more into depth. So it's super simple. All you need to do is take a minute to sign up and start using the content.
Okay. So basically, around the world could start becoming
anyone in the world. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a completely free platform. And what we can do is we can also work with you to set up specific URLs where you can track what your students are doing, how many courses they are taking, are they completing them, or so on. But from a perspective, it's completely free, and all you need to do is just start telling your students that they have access to this completely free amazing platform.
Fantastic. Any kind of a training or introduction, like an introductory course to the trainers?
Yes, we do. So we have what we call master trainers, people that are able to walk you through what the platform is, how do you use it, and so on. As well as we have a document called an instructional manual, which is an 86-page document that walks you through what the platform is, gives you a 2 to 3 pager for each of the 32 courses on how do you teach it in a classroom setting. It gives you activities for 4 people, for 6 people, and so on. We can definitely we can set up a session where we do a global, intro session to HP Life with all the directors and all the project managers of YMCA. But at the same time, for you guys that are just students, the beauty of the platform is it has a great user experience. You can just sign up and take the courses, and it is the way that it was designed is for anyone to be able to just go through it without necessarily having to be trained on it. But we definitely have those assets as well.
Okay, no, that's amazing. I think sometimes it can be helpful. Organic bottom up is certainly the best anyways, because people take ownership of that. But sometimes there are centers or organizations, such as JA, working with, who can help to track and accelerate that. Maybe provide some coaching and mentoring along the way. That could also be helpful in that. Now, I have one other question here, and that is about the courses. I guess they're designed by experts in HP as well as experts. Are there any cultures to any of the courses? If you found they need to be adapted?
Yeah. So one of the things that we want to make sure when we create the content is that is culturally acceptable for everyone. So for example, one of our courses, growth engine for your business, when you start the class, you get to choose your avatar. So there is a representation for people from every single culture, from every single background, and the class is try to make them as global as possible. Right now, we're launching, for example, a class in social entrepreneurship, and the examples that we will push out of social enterprises that have been successful are represented from all the different sides of the world. So it's not an American-based content, if that makes sense. Quite the opposite. It's global. Just like our partnerships are global, so is our content. If you were to be born and raised in Albania, like I am, you will relate to the content as much as if you are from Liberia, or if you are born and raised in San Francisco, US.
Okay, excellent. So this is really business language. It's digital language. It's it's transversal.
Correct. And if it is another example would be where we're creating a new course right now on selling online, and we are giving different examples, like the eBays of the world, but then the Alibabas of the world. So giving a right amount of information for people globally to be able to learn their specific market when it comes to selling online.
Fantastic. I was intrigued by saying about the feedback. How do you go about doing that? How do you gather user? Is that something you do constantly, or are there certain periods when you use your feedback?
Every single course that you take, at the end of it, you are asked a certain amount of questions. So for every single one of the courses, every single user will have to answer a survey. And then we go through that and just learn trends and kind of understand what makes sense for us to build or fix and so on. We completely launched a new platform in October 2020, and we made it mobile friendly, as well as we are making our courses completely mobile friendly, that you can literally take them from your phone, because yes, we are a hardware company, but I also understand that not everyone has access to a computer, but most people do have access to a phone. So we're working right now to get into getting all HP Live content 0 rated. What that means is that you will not need to use your data for you to be able to eventually access HP Live content around the world. And that's a big step for us.
Oh, that's huge. I've heard so much about the cost of data in some countries. So that's a big step.
That's part of the overall goal that we're launching tomorrow. Completely 0 rated, so no one in the world will have to, again, I come from a developing country. If you have 2 gigabytes to send a text message to your mom, you're not going to use it to download content. You're going to use it for what you need it. But if this becomes completely free, then you have more of a incentive to actually go and use the courses.
Brilliant. Another question here, it's more about confirmation. But I think a little bit of confusion around ages. So just to reiterate, anyone between 18 and 35 can take this. Are there any other eligibility?
So anyone from 18 to 35 can apply for BECHANGEMAKER, which is a competition or a world challenge that we run with WorldSkills, and they can apply to be part of this program. Anyone in the world of whatever age you are, you can take HP Live courses. There is no limitation. We have users that are in their 70s. We have users that they are 16, 17. You do, obviously, it's terms and conditions with every website. So it's on you to sign up and do all of that, but it's completely free, accessible for any age.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a really brilliant point, that anyone, anywhere, and at any age can access these courses in the world. But the program is something slightly separately. Maybe it's a good question on the program. Is that a program that is multiple times a year?
It's annual. It's once a year. So every single year, usually in between March to June, we open applications where anyone in the world can apply, and then the program till September. As I said, it's a 3-month program development course. The idea is that we want to help the young entrepreneurs that just have an idea to build a proper business model where they think about financial sustainability, they think about HR, management, marketing, and all that stuff. So a lot of the teams that I mentioned, for example, last team from Costa Rica called Rocher, what they did is they created an app in Costa Rica for women to check on this app safe spaces for them to walk at night, or to basically avoid violence, of sexual violence or abuse or anything like that. So they were 18, 19-year-old wonderful entrepreneurs had this idea, but they didn't necessarily know how to go about creating the business. So by the end of the 3 months, they have a proper financial modeling, they have a website, they have a better idea of what their like, how do they make money out of this, and so on.
No, I think that's absolutely brilliant. Well, I don't have any other questions at the moment. I mean, I think it's an amazing program. I would then like to encourage our colleagues from the YMCA world to use this last opportunity this last opportunity, but I think that we will have you back again to see questions. So Darren is on. He's been on the website. So some people have been surfing around on the website in the background.
Wonderful.
And have questions answered. So if we have no questions or comments there, I'm just giving people another chance. I would like to thank you, Ina, for your time, for the amazing presentation, for all of the stories that you've shared with us, and the information that you've provided, both about HP Life, of course, and about the BECHANGEMAKER. Actually, another question for you. You mentioned that you're announcing tomorrow. Is there anything else, or where can people find out more about if they want?
There will be It will be a press release. It will hit the wire tomorrow. But basically, what we are announcing is that we want to become the world's more sustainable and just technology company by 2030. And the way that we want to do it is by accelerating digital equity for 150 million by 2030. And the way that we're thinking about it is under economic empowerment, health, and education. Those are the three pillars that we are keen on working on. And what the previous commitment that we made was about enabling better learning outcomes from 100 million people everywhere. So it could be anyone. This is going to be more targeted towards four different audiences. That is going to be women and girls. It's going to be people with teachers and instructors, because we know that that's such a huge part of right hands, and then people from marginalized communities, that also being people of color.
All right. Well, I think many of those communities, if not all of them, actually are communities where we have an enormous amount of experience and where we have a lot of young people today. And so I think this is a really piece of information for the wives around the world to take away with them and to see how these also align and fit. I mean, there's absolute strategic alignment with the goals for sure. So I encourage everyone to take a look when this information hits the wire, and we will invite you back, of course, to tell us more, and I'm sure see as well more closely how we can together and align programs and really take advantage of the amazing programs that HP Life has developed and made.
Well,
so thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I hope all of you had a chance to go sign up on HP Life now and spread the word out there. And hopefully some of you will actually apply to be Changemaker, and I'll see you during the program.
Fantastic. And I'd like to encourage everyone to move over, if you would like, into the networking room.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great day, Ina. Bye-bye.
You
Thanks,
too.
everyone.